when I play in a team, like I'm really hard on my teammates
Yeah.
about certain things. Like if I hear my teammate say, "Is this you?" Like I'll tell him like, "Don't say that," because like if we're playing as a team, and you have to say, "Hey, was this you?" "Hey, this is me." Like we're not playing well together, and
Right.
we're about to cause a lot of fucking problems and either kill each other, or we're gonna aim at somebody who's not one of us and hesitate and then die because that guy fucking turned and saw us and shot us in the face. And so I really enjoy playing with people because I think group play is really the core element of the game, and that solo play is really not.
Hmm.
Granted, players can be really good at solo because EFT is the type of game where you can like one shot two people with good ammo, and like you can
Right.
make those kinds of plays. But team play is where I think the gameplay really shines because you can do so much more in a team.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more fun to be had when you're coordinating and properly like just moving together. It's just I don't know, there's something about it that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Welcome to Tardux, a podcast for content creators to come on, share their stories, experience, and advice. And I am super happy. I'm honored to have Clean. Welcome.
Yeah, it's happy to be here, man.
I'm so glad you're here. So, what we do on the pod to get things going, we do three random questions just to get the juices going. You ready?
All right. Yeah, go ahead, shoot.
All right. So, first question is sketchiest bar you've ever been to?
Sketchiest bar I've ever been to. Well, frankly, I never really go out to bars. Never really wanted to go out and drink.
Yeah.
Kind of had that phase in my life. I had a fake ID when I was like 18, 19, and
Nice.
went out to the bars and kind of got to experience that culture. And
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Oregon and kind of a smaller town, 140,000 people, college town.
Yeah.
A lot of the bars weren't really sketchy for the most part.
Yeah.
And I honestly can say I don't think I've ever been to a sketchy bar ever.
Okay.
And like I've never really gone to strip clubs or clubs or anything like
Yeah.
that. That's just not really my thing.
Yeah.
So
Because you hear
sorry, I
about
can't really answer.
that's
Huh?
all right. You hear about down in Texas all those crazy bars with a chicken wire around them and all kinds of.
Oh yeah, Texas is built a little different.
Yeah,
That's for
absolutely.
sure. That's for sure.
All right. So number two, you're going out to your favorite place to eat. What are you ordering?
Usually ramen.
Okay.
Any kind of noodle soup
Yeah.
is usually like my go-to, but ramen is probably my favorite kind of food.
Nice. All right. And third question, all the places you've been to in your life, what's been your favorite?
A town called Bend, Oregon. Actually, it's
Okay.
a kind of small town. It has more breweries per capita than any place in the United States. It
Wow.
has a Mountain Bachelor, which is 20 minutes away from town. It's just like one of the best outdoor capitas in the United States.
Yeah.
Like it's just a great fucking town. Really cool place. Very,
Nice.
very, 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 very good vibes there. It's
Oh,
good
cool.
spot.
All right. So let's get rolling here. So, who is Clean? Where did you grow up, first of all?
So I grew up in Oregon, born and raised in a
Yeah.
town called Eugene. It's the home of University of Oregon, Oregon Ducks, for anybody who likes college ball.
Yeah.
And yeah, I lived there my whole life. Went to high school. Had my education.
Yeah.
When I got out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps, and I was in the Marines for about 6 years.
Yeah.
And during that time, I was a reservist, so I was stationed in Oregon.
Oh,
I was
no
a combat
way.
engineer, as well as a hand-to-hand combat instructor for the Marine Corps. We called it McMap.
Oh, wow.
And during that time, I was also an MMA fighter as an amateur. I never really had aspirations to go pro.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed training and fighting. Had about 15 fights under my belt, 3-0 in Muay Thai, and it went 4 wins, 1 draw, 4 losses in MMA. But all
Yeah.
my losses were against like really high ranked wrestlers,
Yeah.
and they got me on points. They knew I was a striker because I came from a Muay Thai background, so
Yeah.
they would take me down, and I wasn't really good at sprawling, so they'd get me on points, but this never finished in any of my fights, and I was pretty proud of
Oh,
that.
nice. Now,
Um,
so did you have a background in fighting before you joined the military then, or you learned
no,
that?
no,
Oh,
not at all. I mean, I wrestled for like 1 year in high school, and
yeah.
that's kind of like when I started dipping my toes in like martial arts.
Yeah.
And like when I was in the Marines, when I was at my combat engineer schoolhouse, every single day I would go to this like little corner in the gym that had like a speed bag and
Yeah.
like a kickboxing or like a heavy bag, and
Yeah.
I would just sit there and punch and kick and just like do drills for hours and hours. And when I finally got back home, I was looking for MMA gyms, and I eventually found a MMA gym that I went to, and I just
Yeah.
started training, and that's just kind of how I got into martial arts.
Oh, no way. And now, how long were you in the service for?
6 years. Yeah, I was
Oh.
medically discharged. I had an
Yeah.
injury that I actually got from MMA. Like
Oh,
it was a
shoot.
week after a fight that I won. I was in the gym doing a frog stretch and I felt my hip pop and I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, that didn't feel good. And I stood up and I couldn't put weight on it. And that's how I knew I fucked myself up.
Oh
And so I
no.
tore my labrum in my right hip, which is essentially like your hip's rotator cuff.
Yeah.
And the military wasn't going to pay for surgery. And the surgery was really expensive. And the surgeon literally told me, like, hey, if you get this surgery, there's no guarantee you're going to be in like the same strength level that you are now. Because he's like, you can walk and you can move around and you can do stuff now, but you have scar
Yeah.
tissue built up there. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting that fucking surgery. And so I was basically like what's called light duty in the Marine Corps, which means that I cannot perform like my regular duties
Yeah.
because of my injury. And because I was kind of put in a rock and a hard place, I was essentially light duty for a year and I couldn't go out and do anything. So I was eventually discharged honorably under medical conditions. And
Yeah.
when I was discharged was like literally like right at the end of my contract anyway. Like I was going to be getting out regardless, but happened to get that medical discharge. And the funny thing is right when that happened, like right as I was getting out of the military,
Yeah.
is when I started streaming. That's when I got into
Oh,
Tarkov and
shit.
started playing EFT. And it was kind of like a shitty thing because I couldn't train and I couldn't follow my passions with MMA anymore, but
Yeah.
it let me follow my passions with gaming and kind of forced me to stay inside because, I couldn't go to the gym for 3 to 4 hours a day, which was my usual training
Yeah.
schedule.
Oh, no way. And now, if you had to stay, if you didn't get discharged, what do you think your path would have been? What would you have ended up doing, do you think?
I don't think I can really answer that question. I don't really know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a very present person.
Yeah.
I don't really think ahead too much, and that has gotten me into some trouble. But I just like to be very much in the moment and just like,
Yeah.
just living in the moment as much as I can, while analyzing the past and
Yeah.
learning from that when I can and looking forward to the future, when it's necessary. But it's just that's something in hindsight that I don't think I can really fathom because
Yeah.
it's not the life that I live and I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
really answer that question.
And now, from a video game standpoint, when did video games start for you?
Oh, when I was really young.
Yeah.
Like I remember my babysitters growing up, they put me on like N64
Yeah.
and like the original Nintendos and playing Mario and stuff like that. And then eventually I got like a PS1, PS2,
Yeah.
Xbox 360, and just kind of like playing games throughout my entire life. And
Yeah.
like some of my all-time favorites were like Halo 3, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, like Rainbow Six Vegas 2,
Yeah.
and like a handful of others like the Elder Scrolls franchise and obviously the Fallout franchise as well.
Yeah. So, what was your path to Tarkov?
So I was really big into Squad, in its like early pre-alpha, alpha stages, and like I played lots of DayZ. And I remember I just found the trailer for this game. I was like, Tarkov, what's this? I'm like, this looks cool. Like I was a big fan of like games like Stalker and Metro, which is like these post-apocalyptic, like Eastern European setting type games. And I was like, man, this game looks really cool. And so eventually I paid $140 to play EOD. And back then there was an NDA, so like nobody could make content or anything. But
Yeah.
even that wasn't even on my mind at the time. I was just enjoying the games, and I kept playing and just like having fun. And I eventually got like involved in the community, and I was really active on the forums. And over time, I started to build like a relationship with like some people at Battle State, and they started to kind of rely on me for like connections in the United States because obviously they didn't really fucking speak English at that time.
Right.
They weren't as large as they were now. They're maybe like 15 developers back then.
Yeah. And now, what was the hook the game had on you?
It was, I don't know, it's just like everything from like the very like realistic gunplay or sort of realistic gunplay, and just like the hardcore like looter shooter aspect of it, and just the gameplay loop I just found to be very, very satisfying.
Yeah.
And it's just like it was like a perfect game for me back then. It was just like, man, I've been looking for something like this for a really long time.
And now, over the years, many wipes through, you've been through many wipes. Do you still get that pucker factor or the adrenaline?
But like I got like fucking, I don't know, like 12, 13, 14, 15,000 hours by now. I mean, I lost count. I've been playing this game for well over 6 years now. And like even today, like I got in a couple situations where like my heart starts racing once I start hearing like lots of people and getting in firefights, like just like getting super jump scared by the game and like getting really freaked out. But I think more than anything, like what I like guess kind of changed is like when I die, I don't really get upset anymore. I used to kind of get worked up after a death and losing a kit, but now it's like I don't really care because I'm good enough at the game. Or like when I die, like I have like millions of rubles in my stash. I got gear sets on gear sets that I can get. Like I'm fine. And like I feel like a lot of people, especially content creators, they have fragile egos and they don't ever want to see themselves losing and dying in front of their community. And like they have to make an excuse. They got to say, oh, there was this or that. Oh, desync, whatever. It's just like that. Who fucking cares, man? Just like move on, say GG. And like ever since I started kind of having that attitude, I've been enjoying the game a lot more. And I find it to be a lot less frustrating. It's because even when I do die by like a cheater or desync or something I can't really learn from, because those are the most frustrating deaths in that game is when you can't learn from it. Like you don't hear a guy sprint behind you and he plays no sound and you die. Like, you can't really learn from that. But it's just I don't know, keep finding the game to be more fun that way, and it's just it's easier.
Yeah. And nobody wants to watch somebody who's frustrated or angry from, there's so
Yep.
many other people out there to watch.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nobody likes just negative vibes like that.
No, absolutely. And now what is your thought on how this patch has been released and whatnot?
So I am still a firm believer that the game is the best state that it's ever been in, even though I know a lot of people disagree. But a reason I say that is because I've been here since the beginning. Like I
Yeah.
remember like when desync was literally 5 minutes long and you'd see people moving in the past. Like you'd be
Wow.
shooting a guy walking in front of you, but he's not actually there because he was there 5 minutes ago. And
Yeah.
lack of content, lack of features, lack of game balance, even though a lot of those still things are kind of lacking to a lot of people within the game. But a lot of people have the kind of like rose tinted glasses on,
Yeah.
and a lot of their problems and feedback, in my opinion, can be kind of like almost a first world problem due to the experience and time that they put into the game.
Yeah.
And I think this update's great. Like Streets, amazing map, best map they've ever made. It's super awesome. It just has very, very bad lag and rubber banding right now, and the frame rate could definitely be better.
Yeah.
In terms of content, it was cool. I usually, when it comes to an update, like I could really care less about new maps and guns. I want core gameplay changes,
Yeah.
core gameplay balance changes. Like honestly, I think my favorite thing they did this wipe is removing all of the best ammo from the traders.
Yeah.
So that way, it kind of prolongs their early and mid wipe experience because that's what everybody enjoys, and that's why people like wipes is because you need everything. Nobody's running the good stuff. When you wear armor, it actually works and matters versus like every wipe that we've had in the past. Eventually, everybody's running the same gun, same kit, same armor with the same ammo that kills you at the same exact time, and you see people in the same spot doing the same thing. And when you get this level of predictability in Tarkov, which is a game that's supposed to be unlimitedly unpredictable,
Yeah.
it kills the experience.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it's not the Tarkov that we're supposed to be enjoying. But at the same time, a lot of that's just a byproduct of development because the game isn't finished yet. It's still obviously a beta, but in my opinion, it's really glorified alpha. They've been kind of like game developers have been skimming the line between what's an alpha and a beta for a long time, and Tarkov is still really an alpha, even though it has quite a lot of content and things there. Because a beta phase is officially supposed to be polishing, optimization, and quality of life changes, where an alpha phase means that you're still missing core gameplay features, which we are still missing quite a lot from the game.
Yeah.
But overall, I think patch 13 is great, and like I think the release was really smooth. Like day one, there was maybe a little bit of server downtime for a couple hours, but then after that, it cleared up, and queue times weren't really that long. And like overall, I think they did a really good job, and BSG keeps doing a good job. But they definitely need to fix the sound. Like that's the biggest issue with the game right now is the audio.
Yeah. Yeah, because like in maps like Reserve or Interchange, you're in the basement, you hear people above you as if they're on the same level. That is
it's really bad.
Yeah.
On top of that too, even on like the maps where they have like updated like Oculus audio, I've actually come to find out that stealth is actually completely broken in this game with headphones.
Yeah.
So for example, if you are a floor below somebody and they're above you, and if they're covert walking, you can't hear them at all. Once you put headphones on, you can track every single movement they make. There's literally no difference in audio between walking full speed and walking at a covert pace, even when you're crouched. Like stealth is completely broken, and it's essentially caused this gameplay where if you want to be stealthy, you literally have to hold completely still. You cannot move. You can't even swivel, turn, or aim your gun, or somebody will hear you. Or you have to just hold W and just fucking run at people and like just be loud as fuck because they're gonna hear you anyway. And I'm not totally sure when exactly this changed, but I remember a Tarkov where like covert movement worked. You could stealth and sneak up on people, especially if they were outside of a building and you were inside, or vice versa, a floor above or below, behind a wall or whatever, behind an angle, anywhere where like a collision would take place is like where stealth would work the best. And typically, like if you're on the same level as somebody, you could only crouch walk and be stealthy if there was something to essentially drown out your sound from your like very quiet footsteps.
Yeah.
So if somebody had headphones, they'd still hear you. But if this guy was like running or shooting or being loud, like you stealth walking could work. And what I would do is like if I hear a guy, every time I'd hear him sprint, I would start covert walking. If he stopped sprinting, I stop moving.
Yeah.
And once he starts moving, then I start trying to essentially mask my audio with his so that he can't hear me.
Yeah.
And that was a very effective strategy to move around. And with the way that the game is now, it's just like the gameplay in terms of movement is just it's awful. It's just not fun. You can't do anything. Like I said, you have to either hold still or hold W. Like there's no in between, which is really bad for gameplay because you need to give people more options. And when you're limited to just two options, it creates very stale gameplay. And you get like, the rats that don't move and sit in a corner all day or they're sitting in a bush or something, or the chads that only run around and are just super noisy.
Yeah. Yeah, because stealth is such a huge part of this game. You know, like you're just saying, you don't
Mhm.
want to have just two styles. You want to be able to take advantage of, you know, what your strength is. And
Yeah,
if
you
being
got to take
stealth
advantage
is,
of all styles of play.
yeah,
Like, I always tell people like there's the whole rat Chad debate.
yeah,
I think all of that's a bunch of fucking bullshit. But the best players know how to W key when the right time is to W key, and they
yeah,
know how to be quiet when it's time to be quiet. And you have to do both.
yeah,
If you limit yourself to either just being quiet or just being a fucking really aggressive player, you're actually very much limiting yourself and your ability to play the game and the capability that you could potentially have in your raids.
yeah. Well, it's, you know, it's almost like real life. You don't have, you know, soldiers that are just a shift W's. They adapt and change to the
Yeah, of course.
environment, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, okay, so I've been waiting to talk to you about this because you were a key part from all the people I've had on, like Deadly and Markstrom and whatnot
Mhm.
and Devil Dog. You were the man who came up or were heavily involved with the streamer items, getting them into the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, that was an idea of mine for Battle State. I mean, like I try not to take a lot of credit because I used to be kind of like arrogant in my early content creation career. 'Cause, I was an MMA fighter as a Marine. When I
Yeah,
started on Twitch, I blew up really quickly and I had a bit of an ego. And I've, kind of matured quite a bit since then. I'm still working on myself. I'm not perfect, but um, I created a lot of change within Battle State and the game, and I still frankly do, but I'm just much more low key about it. And I don't
yeah,
really talk about it anymore, just because it gets me a lot of flack, and I just don't really need that. But I'll still give my feedback to Battle State when I feel like it's necessary.
yeah,
And like the podcasts that they do were my idea when I worked for PR for them back
yeah,
in the day, and I did marketing. Same thing with streamer items and a handful of other features that are still in the game today, like
yeah.
Scav Junk Box. Like that was my idea.
Nice.
I told Nikita, I'm like, hey, we need something for standard account owners to keep their barter goods because they can't hold on anything. And they created the Scav Junk Box. It used to be just an item case at
Yeah,
first, and then they created like a model for it. And I'm really proud of that because like I love this game. I have a lot of respect for Battle State, and I had a really 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 good time. Just affecting the game,
yeah,
and like also me being in marketing for Battle State for a couple of years. I helped get some of the biggest names in the industry to play Tarkov for free.
yeah,
We didn't have to pay anybody, and I was just really good at networking. And yeah, I mean, like I have a really long history with the game. When BSG originally hired me, they hired me as their American representative, and my official job for them was to acquire licensing agreements from companies like SIG, HK, Trigicon, in order to make sure that they got the proper licensing to get this stuff into the game.
yeah,
And they thought that I'd be a good candidate because I was in the Marine Corps, and they thought I would be like this young Marine would be good for this job. He knows weapons. But little did I know that it was actually illegal for me to do that because I
oh,
was a part of the Department of Defense.
yeah,
So when you're in the military, you're part of the DoD,
yeah,
and as a member of the DoD, you cannot coordinate foreign agencies. BSG being a foreign
yeah.
agency with domestic firearm manufacturers and other companies like that. And so I had a friend of mine at the time, no longer my friend, inform me of that, and I was like, "Oh my god, oh shit! Like I could have gone to jail. Like
Even
that's
though
not
you
good."
were out, were you still in the military at that point, or were you out?
Yes, I
Oh,
was. No,
okay.
I was still in. So like, if I wasn't in the military, this would have not been a problem. But
Yeah,
I was still in the military at the time, and I think this was near the last 2 years of my contract or
yeah,
so. And so Battle State, I told Battle State about this, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, of course we don't know your laws, so but thanks for telling us.
yeah,
Now we're going to move you to a PR position." And so that's when I started doing like lots of marketing and stuff for them. And a lot of people think I was fired because of like my hashtag fire clean item, but that's actually a reference to a time when I was working for Battle State. I was live on Twitch, and I said there'd probably be a wipe this month, and there wasn't, and people got really pissed. And for like a day, or like half
yes,
a day, hashtag fire clean like trended on like Battle State Twitter or something like that,
yeah,
and they were like really angry with me. And I actually quit my position at Battle State, regretfully slowed, because that same person who informed me that what I was doing was illegal and he kind of saved my ass. And
yeah.
granted, this was somebody I thought was my friend, was really looking out for me. That same person eventually actually took my job to help BSG get licensing, but he was kind of asking for a very unfair amount of money. And
Yeah.
BSG was like, "Yo, we're not going to pay you this much. Like, what you're doing isn't worth that." And so he had this like vendetta against Battle State.
Oh,
And because I still trusted this guy, he like fearmongered the shit out of me
yeah.
and said that if I was associated with Battle State, like I could still go to jail and this and that. And he basically put all this bullshit in my head. And I eventually quit
Yeah.
and I stopped working for Battle State just because I was scared that I was going to go down with this like very bad, evil Russian company that
Right.
isn't actually doing anything fucking bad or evil. And you know, a lot of people to this day, they still like, oh yeah, clean was fired because hashtag fired clean is in the game. It's like, no, I wanted that item in the game. Like I decided for that item to be in. Even Nikita's like, are you sure you want this? And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do, because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And you know, I made a lot of mistakes because that like same year that same guy like said, hey, you got to call them out publicly and blah blah blah. And so I did. And lo and behold, it all fell back like right up, blew up in my face because people
Yeah.
found out it's like, oh, it was your job to get licensing. This is your fault. Like you're just trying to, you know, ride on this BSG hate train because there was like some controversy with them like
Yeah.
around the time, and people thought I was like biting the hand that fed me and stuff, and like it sucked, man. Like it all blew
Oh.
up in my face. Like I thought I was doing the right thing, but really I was not, because I was put in a place of fear.
Yeah.
And because I was put in that place of fear, I made like an emotional response that I really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, I made my choice and I made my mistake and I've learned from it. And you know, I've since made amends with guys at Battle State and Nikita, especially because like Nikita really trusted me, and like
Yeah.
he really thought I was like a good asset to him and his company, and I really believed in him and his game. And you know, it kind of hurt because it's just like, man, like I really fucked him over, and I felt so fucking guilty.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, since then, like that's all in the past. Like,
Yeah.
you know, all is well now.
Yeah,
So.
because it was around that time that's where I found Tarkov, and I found your videos and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then I was in Reddit, and like Reddit was just full of assholes. Oh my god, you know, from
else is
like
new?
like from conversations I've had. You know, I've known Veritas for a year, and we've had lots of chat,
Mhm.
lots of chats and conversation, and I just see the hate that pops up in there, and it just, you know, some of the things he shared with
Yeah.
me. It's like, dear God, you got to try to ignore that, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned to take it in stride, and I've learned to not give those cunts free rent.
Yeah.
And they still give me loads of free rent for some reason. They love
Yeah.
thinking about me all the time.
Oh my God.
But it's no skin off my back, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, hey, they're still thinking about me. They're gonna come by my channel and give me a view and give me ad revenue. So
Yeah.
I'm not really bothered by it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
a lot of people in that subreddit, because I've seen that subreddit literally since it only had 1,000 subs to where it is now.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different community compared to what it was like three years ago, even 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that is just due to the fact that a lot of people in the recent years have gotten into Tarkov not knowing what kind of game it is.
Yeah.
They watch, you know, and again, no disrespect to these creators, but like guys like Landmark and Pastilli and like all these huge creators just like run around, decimate people solo, like get lots of money, do crazy raids and all this stuff. And people kind of think it's just like this glorified, you know, looter shooter
Right.
PvP battle royale game. But that's not what it is, and it never was. It
Yeah.
just it seems like that because we have this game that is still just a byproduct of development because it's not finished, and we're still missing so many core components that like make the EFT experience what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. And
Yeah.
people still think like, oh, the start of the game is go get your bronze pocket watch and go get Salevas and stuff. It's like, no, those are all side quests. Like there will be a time when Tarkov, like the game wipes, you won't have any of the traders, you won't have a stash, you won't
Yeah.
have a hideout, you won't have anything because you don't know who any of these people are. You haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
Eventually, the game will start you in Tarbank Tower or Terra Group Tower, and it's an offline prologue mission, which is basically the game's tutorial. Then it throws you in Streets.
Oh,
Streets is
man.
literally Streets is literally supposed to be the first raid, and then eventually you meet these NPCs in the actual game in a
Yeah.
physical space, and like again, like people just I don't think understand what they've gotten into, and
Yeah.
they a lot of the popularity and a good thing because of a lot of these great creators like Landmark and Pestillion and a lot of these other guys, it brought so many people to the game and has
Yeah.
like grown the community in such a great way. But at the same time, again, these guys just don't know what they're getting into, and they give like feedback and complain based on this perception, this false perception that they have of what the game is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that has kind of negatively affected the game in
Yes.
a lot of ways because you get people like arguing with each other, rats and chads and all this other kind of stuff, and people just like really spew hate at each other. Like there's not a single day that goes by that I have people come to my channel and be like, "You fucking rat bitch! Like fuck you! Like why you playing this game, pussy!" Like
Yeah.
just like throwing lots of hate my way, and I'm just like, dude,
There's
what
no
are you doing?
rules. There's no rules on
Yeah,
how you
like-
play this game.
yeah, exactly. Like why? Like I kind of like let them know. I'm like, look, man, like you're wasting your time. You don't have to come here and say that to me
Yeah.
and try and get a reaction out of me and call me this or that. I'm like, I'm better at this game than you. And I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have to belittle me and call me this or that, because at the end of the day, a lot of people who give feedback on the game are viewers.
Yeah.
They're not actually players. They're people who just want to see something.
Mhm.
It's no different than like that fucking fat dude at like on his couch watching football, calling like a pro like
Yeah.
fucking linebacker dog shit, and he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, and he could do something better. But it's like these are just viewers,
Right.
and they don't really play the game as much as say somebody like me, or even play the game that much at all because they're too scared to.
Yeah.
But they're the same type of people that would call you out and call you a pussy and a bitch ass rat because you didn't play or do the thing that they wanted to see.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you just like for me, I learned to take that shit in stride. I
Yeah.
turn their negativity, turn it into positivity, and always make an example out of those guys for my community and let them down as kindly as I can. Because I used to be very volatile, I used to react
Yeah.
to them very harshly, and call them out and be like "fuck you," this and that, and kind of instigate. But I just kind of stopped doing that because it's just really it's not going to get me anywhere, and it doesn't give me any growth. All it does is just make me kind of look like a fucking prick. And
Yeah.
that guy kind of gets what he wanted, which is just that negative reaction. Because at the end of the day, that's what trolls want. They want to feel that control that what you said made you react the way
Yeah.
that they wanted you to.
Now, do you think you're like that now because you're a few years maturer now and your
Yeah,
experience
definitely.
there? Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't have been able to be this way if I didn't fuck up. And
Yeah.
I wasn't able to own up to my mistakes and realize, like, man, I wasn't really handling myself the best way. Man, I was a little bit immature. I was acting like an arrogant prick. Like,
Yeah.
and just again, learn. It's just like Tarkov. Like, it's nice in life when you make a mistake and you can learn from it,
Mhm.
and you can take that and add it to you, and it builds
Yeah.
your character. But if you make certain mistakes and there's nothing you can really learn from that, and that kind of sucks, and you can
Yeah.
put yourself in a bad situation.
Well, that's good. That's really, really good of you to, some people don't realize that. And they just maintain that track of just they're going to be an ass and it's somebody else's fault, and that's a really good trait to have, to be able to recognize that.
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful for
Yeah.
sure, especially for all the lessons I've learned.
Yeah. And now you talked a little bit earlier about Tarkov Talk. I think it was Tarkov Talk. Was it your first the podcast with?
Oh yeah, so Talking Tarkov
That's
is what
it,
we
yeah.
called it. It was
Yeah.
Talking Tarkov. Yeah.
I was looking at some older videos, and it's like with you, Deadly, and Cotton and Nikita.
Yeah.
You, Cotton, and Deadly have not aged at all. Nikita had his picture up there. He looked like he was like, a young pup straight out of college.
Yeah.
And now you look at the poor guy. He's got gray, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a kind of a stressed guy, man. Like he's a
Yeah.
workaholic. He works a lot. And like the community stresses him out, to be
Yes.
completely honest. And a part of that's my fault because I remember back a couple like 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, hey, you should involve yourself with the community more and like, get on Reddit and Twitter and like start talking to people.
Yeah.
And honestly, I regret ever giving him that advice because like it fucking stressed him the fuck out, man. And like people say really mean shit to him all the time. And he gets a lot of fucking hate, and it's really undeserved in my opinion, because at the end of the day, like he and his team created this game that we all get to experience and enjoy. Granted, it's frustrating, and yes, there's problems with it, but at the end of the day, there's still nothing like it out there. And that's
Absolutely.
why people keep playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember not last fall, the fall before VoIP came out. He just looked like he was a beaten dog. It was people were all over him, and it's just like I really felt bad for him. And then VoIP came, that that Christmas launch, and it was just it was good. And and now Nikita
Yep.
seems he's in good spirits again, which is nice to
Yeah.
see.
He actually told me just about a week ago, or right around before the patch came, or right after the patch came out. He's like, "This is the first update that I didn't have to like literally be behind every single developer to make sure what they were doing was correct."
That's good.
And he said it felt really good to kind of let my team kind of develop and not have to just like hover over everybody.
Right.
And at the same time, though, I feel like that maybe caused some issues because there's certain things this update that are like,
Yeah.
how the fuck did they pass this? You know what I mean? And maybe that's because Nikita wasn't like super involved as much as he was used to be involved.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like that's important. Like the devs need to learn, and they're gonna learn by developing the game and also
Yep.
making those mistakes
Absolutely.
and by adding in updates that maybe break shit. Because that's just game dev. That's just
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah. And now, when wipe happens, that, whenever we get that new wipe and the excitement's there, how do you approach wipe? Do you go with, do you start your quests, or what's your first week?
So I used to kind of get caught in the rat race.
Yeah.
Where like everybody just has to get to level 40 as fast as possible, cap as fast as possible,
Yeah.
get the best gear as fast as possible. But for me, I just kind of take it at my own pace. But my own pace is frankly really fast. Like
Yeah.
I have almost 370 raids now with an 80% survival rate.
Wow.
And like I just hit level 42 today, and like I just kind of take the game at my own pace. But I like to play with people. I don't like to do
Yeah.
everything solo. I'm not really in it to bum rush quests as fast as I can. I really don't give a fuck about that. I just enjoy the game for what it is, and really I try and preserve like that early mid wipe experience as much as I can.
Yeah.
just because that's the best time to play. Like the game is not fun when you have a stack of level 5 and 6 armor in your stash with all
Right.
the ammo and meta guns and attachments and stuff.
Yeah.
You want to want stuff. And when the game is more like that, the game is more fun and enjoyable for everybody. Because it eventually just divulges into, just like I said, same gun, same kit with like same armor, same TTK. Your helmets always get one tapped. Like it doesn't matter. People eventually just bring in Shattered Mask for a ricochet chance and level 4 armor for scavs because they know that every motherfucker they're going to run into is going to have ammo that cuts through level 6. But now this wipe, that's actually a little bit different because the traders have gotten a big nerf, which is essentially all of the like best AP ammo is no longer available, and even ammo like M80 is like level 4 Peacekeeper now.
Yeah.
Which I still think is a good call because this is the first time I've actually seen people still running like 7.6239 PS, M855, 545 PS, which got a buff by the way, as well as like FMJ 308. I've never seen people run that because they would just get M80 right away and they would never have to utilize the earlier game calibers because they could just get M80. But and now there's more reliance on crafting in the hideout. People actually have to level their hideout up to craft ammo that they want to use, and now that's one of their main sources of getting it. And what's funny is that a lot of people are like, man, I really feel like they increased like good ammo spawns in raid, but what's funny is they actually didn't at all. They haven't touched the in-raid spawns at all. People are just noticing it more now because they don't have the convenience to go buy it at the trader. Because before, people would just pass off that loot like, oh, 30 rounds of maybe 5.5 A1. I don't care. I can go buy it from a trader. No big deal. But now like people are, oh fuck, like BT sick, and they grab it, or like and then they're really stoked to find that. And that's the exciting thing about the game is like when you need stuff, when you're looking for things and you're always chasing something. But when there's nothing to chase, all people do is just run towards every fucking gunshot or grenade that they hear and kill fucking Timmies that are way outside their gear score and start bragging about their KD.
Right.
You know, it's like the game at that point really diminishes because you get these guys that all they care about is because they blasted through the progression faster in 3 weeks than most people do in 3 months. All they want to do is PvP because that's all there's left to do. And that actually kills the experience for a lot of these other people just trying to catch up and try and get to where these guys are. And they just get shit on by these people who just out gear score them. And it's just not really fun. But when that scarcity is involved, even those like Chad, like high progression or fast progression players, like they still struggle and they're still like not able to get the good stuff, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and we saw that last summer with that, you know, just how quickly it dropped off because everybody had their stuff. And then, you know, then a lot of the, you know, the Tarkov main streamers were like, what do I do? And then you had, you know, they sort of started to branch off. But I like hiding or moving the high tiered ammo off because it makes battles last longer, fights, engagements.
Yeah, longer TTK. Everybody likes longer fights. Everybody likes it when their helmet saves their life. Nobody likes to be the guy though that shoots a guy and they have their helmet saves the other guy. You know, and that's where that double standard is for a lot of people because. Like when it came to the ammo nerfs, like Reddit was bitching, Twitter was bitching, every social media, like everybody's complaining, oh my God, like this game's ruined, blah, blah, blah. Like now the hardcore Chads are already going to be whatever. But it's just like, these are the same people that would complain that, oh my God, every death is BP. Oh my God, every death is M61. BSG, please do something. This ammo's OP. And then they finally do something and then people complain. And like, it's just perpetual bullshit that spews from the community and they contradict themselves all the fucking time. And it just gets really exhausting. And honestly, one of the best things that I did was get off the fucking main subreddit for that game. And I unsubscribed to it for a long time ago. Actually, I remember my turning point was I posted a video, and I don't know why I felt compelled to post a video on Reddit. And it was basically a response to people talking shit about me. And I felt for some reason that I had to like prove something to these people online. And I normally I don't ever delete anything on social media, but I actually went and deleted that video on Reddit because I'm like, man, like watching it back, I was like, I was fucking cringy as fuck. Like, why did I post that? And I realized like these people don't give a fuck about me. Why the fuck should I care about them? And you know, it's just it's funny, man. Like people just love drama. They love complaining. They love just bitching. And they just resonate with this negativity all the time. And I just don't associate it with it anymore. I could just care less. I just want to have fun, play the game. If I get killed by a hacker, damn, that sucks. GG, move on. You know, I'm not one to sit there and bitch about it.
You were talking a little bit about running with other people in the game. Like, do you run with regulars or do you run a lot with community members?
Well, I run with like regulars, usually streamers or the content creator buddies. Like I've started playing with Hutch a lot, and I've actually helped him get a lot better at the game because that's what he's been telling me. Because my play style is a lot different than most people. Like again, like I don't bum rush stuff. I really like to take my time. I like to think very decisively and tactically. And when I play in a team, like I'm really hard on my teammates about certain things. Like if I hear my teammate say, "Is this you?" Like I'll tell him like, "Don't say that," because like if we're playing as a team. And you have to say, hey, was this you? hey, this is me. Like, we're not playing well together, and
Right.
we're about to cause a lot of fucking problems and either kill each other, or we're gonna aim at somebody who's not one of us and hesitate and then die because that guy fucking turned and saw us and shot us in the face. And so I really enjoy playing with people because I think group play is really the core element of the game, and that solo play is really not. Granted, players can be really good at solo because EFT is the type of game where you can like one shot two people with good ammo, and like, you know, you can
Right.
make those kinds of plays. But team play is where I think the gameplay really shines because you can do so much more in a team.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more fun to be had when you're coordinating and properly like just moving together. It's just, I don't know, there's something about it that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And like this wipe, I just wanted to make a point to play with more people and just like, you know, branch out there and just get to know more
Yeah.
content creators and play with them within the category and just, you know, just have fun and just
Yeah.
enjoy the game together and not like take it super seriously, because a lot of people take the game so seriously. And I think they could just like sit back and relax a little bit. Even though I understand the game is kind of serious, it's supposed to be like a hardcore looter shooter.
Yeah.
People, again, they take it a little bit too seriously, and like they should learn to relax a little bit. And I used to be that way too. I used to take the game super seriously. Like I'd get really upset when I died, and you know, I'd be so like into like my like hot takes and controversial feedback
Yeah.
about features and stuff. And I still kind of talk about that stuff because people like to hear my thoughts on things.
Yeah.
But you know, people just need to relax a little bit and chill out.
Well, you said a key word there, properly communicate, which is not easy when you're running 4 or 5-man squads in Tarkov. If there's any one game that really shows how bad we are at communicating, it's this game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like 4-mans and 5-mans are definitely possible. They're hard though,
Yeah.
because you essentially need to have somebody fill in a squad leader role who's
Yeah.
literally giving people orders, because that way everybody keeps track. The problem with a lot of groups is a lot of people play the game solo, and then
Yeah.
when they play with a duo or a trio, they still treat the game like they're playing by themselves. They don't take account to where their teammates are
Yeah.
or anything like that, and they'll go over like run off and loot a room because they feel like it or something like
Yeah.
that. Like when I play in a team, especially if it's a 4-man or 5-man, which is very rare, but like if I do, like I tell these guys before we go in the room, like, look, like we're gonna be fucking locked in. Don't fucking say anything. Like we can't be clouding each other out. Like it's okay to like we'll like bullshit like when the time is necessary,
Right.
but like when we're like approaching an area that's kind of hot, like everybody has to shut up. I'm having to delegate people like, hey, cover this angle. Hey, you stay here. You
Yeah.
move here. And essentially, I'm the one communicating and basically making the team move.
Yeah.
Because when that happens, then we can finally coordinate better. But
Yeah.
when you put a bunch of solo players into a group and they play the game like they're solo, they're probably just going to kill each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they don't know how to keep track of other people that aren't them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the advantages of solo play. You don't got to worry about teammates. You can just anything you hear that's not you, like that's an enemy. You can
Yeah.
shoot it. But when you're with a teammate or a couple teammates, like you have to play differently. You have to think differently, which is really important. But a lot of people just don't know how to do that.
And when you get those a 2 or 3-man team running smoothly, there's nothing better in this game, you know, in taking out another squad when your communication's
absolutely.
on point and how you're flanking and attacking. It's just it works so well.
Oh yeah, no, it's super satisfying. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So now back to the streaming aspect. So was Twitch which was first, YouTube or Twitch for you?
Twitch.
Twitch.
Funny enough, I've actually only started focusing on my YouTube like the past year and a half.
Oh, okay.
It's actually kind of one of my regrets with content creation. Like I should have been making guides. I should have been focusing a lot more on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like when I first started, because I never did. I just put all of my energy on Twitch because that's all I really cared about.
Yeah.
And you know, like Twitch was just really all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, now I have like an editor, and we're starting to get YouTube content out. I'm starting to make more videos, which is nice, and it's been going good. But yeah, it was just all Twitch.
And now, was your engagement with BSG before Twitch, or that come after you were on Twitch for a while?
That was actually before Twitch.
Oh, okay.
It was before I was ever doing anything on Twitch, any live streaming or
Yeah.
anything like that. And when I was I was an emissary before I was their American representative.
Yeah.
It was like 10 of us had our NDAs lifted,
Yeah.
and then we could make content to start like informing people about the game and, you know, explain like what Tarkov is. Because even back then, like it was way simpler than it was now, but it was still super complicated
Yeah.
for a lot of people. The game just kind of needed people to represent it, and that was kind of our job. But I was one of the only people out of those 10 emissaries that really took the streaming thing seriously, and it just
Yeah.
I just kind of took off with it. It just worked.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And now, way back, so what was the reason you hit go live button to begin with?
I don't
On
know,
Twitch?
honestly. I always had a friend of mine who would always kind of push me to stream.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you should stream. You should try this. You should stream. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then eventually, like when I started playing Tarkov, I'm like, okay, this seems like an interesting opportunity. I guess I'll start playing. And like when I first started streaming, this was like before Amazon came into the picture.
Yeah.
In order to get partnered, you had to maintain 450 to 550 viewers for 60 days straight.
Wow.
No breaks in order to get partner. And I did in 2 months. And that was unheard of back then. Like I was
Wow.
one of the fastest growing streamers on the platform
Yeah.
when I started. But granted, like the platform itself and live streaming in general is like a fraction of the size it was back then compared
Yeah.
to now. Like, 10,000 viewer streamers back then were like the top. Now it's like you guys like XQC hitting 100,000 viewers,
Yeah.
no problem. Um, and there's also a lot more tools to grow now, and just like the
Mhm.
whole live streaming space has been a lot more oversaturated.
Yeah. And now back then, you're going from, hitting that play button for or live button for the first time. Now you have 400 or 500 people in your stream. How did you prepare for that? Because there's nothing really to get you ready for that.
Nothing really, man. I just did it,
Yeah.
and I just kind of got used to it. And honestly, I learned a lot. Like I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
I used to be kind of a dipshit on stream.
Yeah.
Used to be kind of cocky or arrogant or whatever. And over time, like I started to refine myself, my personality, and my content.
Yeah.
And that just took a lot of time. And like I said, it was just more so just like being in the moment and having some victories and also having some losses, but being
Yeah.
able to learn from them and grow from them.
And now did you get to a certain point where you knew that this could be your, full-time gig, or was it just a gradual
I think it was like when I got partnered on Twitch.
Yeah.
And I remember like talking to my dad about it, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, son, like get a real job." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Dad, I made like $3,000 this month." He's like, "What? That's a fluke." I'm like, "Dad, I made $6,000 this month." He's like, "Okay, whatever." I'm like, "Dad, I'm making like $10,000 every month now doing
Yeah.
this." And he's like, "Oh shit, I was wrong." And again, it was right around when I got partnered on Twitch that
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can do this. But that's when the grind started for me.
Yeah.
Was like, okay, I'm partnered now. Like now I really got to keep working harder because I just reached one milestone, but now I'm at the foot of another mountain.
Well, your partner story. When did you find out? Was it like today where you just people apply 3 or 4 times? How did you get your partner notice?
I applied once, got denied. Second time I applied, I got partnered.
Yeah. Oh, no way.
Mhm.
Like, were you midstream? Do you remember when you got the notice?
I honestly can't remember.
Yeah.
I just remember a lot of people being really stoked and being like, "Yo, congrats! You worked really hard for this."
Yeah.
And people subscribing, and like that was really surreal. Like, oh my god, people can sub to me now. Like that was so cool.
Yeah.
And it was just I don't know. It all just kind of like happened, and like I
Yeah.
never planned for any of this. I never planned to still be here talking to you right now because
Right.
of Escape from Tarkov. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just I'm just very grateful. Like I've always wanted to work with games
Yeah.
growing up ever since I was a kid. I just didn't know actually exactly how, and like here I am.
Yeah.
And I just kind of somehow managed to get here subconsciously
Yeah.
without actually trying to do anything.
And now, what has been the hardest thing to this point? Being in this profession that you are in.
Honestly, like I miss being very physically active.
Yeah.
I miss going to the gym and training a lot, and I still haven't gotten surgery for any of my injuries, so
shoot.
that still kind of makes it hard. Like I'm not like out of shape by any means or like
Yeah.
weak, but like if I go to a gym and push myself as hard as I know I want to, like I could definitely fucking hurt myself again.
Yeah.
And I think it's really just like not being able to go outside as much and like being able to experience nature because I used to go camping and be outside all the time.
Yeah.
And like now I'm just like inside pretty much every day, and I'm happy. I still love it, and
Yeah.
I try and find days off to really go touch grass. But I would say that's really it. Just like not being able to be connected with nature as much
Yeah.
and my physical self as much.
Okay. And now, if you were starting, Clean is going to hit the live button first time. How would you approach it today? Do you think? Knowing what you know.
Like if
If
knowing
you're
what I know.
Yeah, knowing what you know, starting scratch today, you're making your first move. What would you focus more on Twitch? Would you focus more on the VODs?
Honestly, I'm not even sure. Like I would just, as long as I am enjoying what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I know I will have success doing so.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I'd be able to handle, certain things better. And like, if I did start from scratch and nobody knew who I was, like
Yeah.
obviously I think I could potentially build a different reputation than I have now, but I don't know if that would necessarily be better because that's just something in hindsight. And again, that's just not how I really think. Like I don't really think of the shoulda, woulda, couldas and the what could be's.
Yeah.
Just because that's not what is.
Right. Nope, that's true. And now, do you think, like you were talking about your reputation now, do you think the reputation is still carried over from, young Clean versus today, what we see every day?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, like I wouldn't be myself if it wasn't for my past actions.
Yeah.
And who I was, back then
Yeah.
and maybe even yesterday. And so, I guess so. I mean,
Yeah.
like again, it's hard to say because I just don't, I can't really like put my head in that space just because I don't think like that.
Well, I guess what I mean is like, people who are finding you for the first time, do they go back and look at old stuff, or they just, oh yeah, you're clean, you make, you're cool to
Maybe
watch, and
I don't know. Like I know I've definitely like changed some people's opinions of me like
yeah,
over the past. Like some people are like, hey man, like even recently, like since I started playing Tarkov, I'm like, man, like you used to be a lot different on stream. Like now I watch you, you just seem like a totally different guy, and
yeah,
your whole attitude and just your vibe is different, and that's good. I take that as a compliment.
yeah,
And like now my first impression with somebody is usually really positive,
yeah,
especially when it comes to my content. People watching me like, man, this guy's really cool. I really like this channel, and I like your community a lot. And
nice,
I've gotten better at just kind of cultivating more people
yeah.
around myself and what I do.
And now, how would you describe the clean community?
Honestly, very mature for the most
Yeah,
part. Like I got some immature people. We all do.
yes,
But for the most part, like most people who watch me are like over 20.
yeah,
A lot of them love very hardcore, intricate games like, Tarkov,
mm-hmm,
DayZ, games like Kenshi, Dwarf Fortress,
yeah,
anything that's like Project Zomboid, anything that's just like kind of complex and has cool underlying features.
yeah,
Definitely like very like military, like tactical kind of community for sure.
yeah,
People who like guns, people who like, tactical military stuff. But also like a lot of people have a lot of different views and ideas because I'm very open about who I am and what I believe in, and
yeah,
especially whether that's politics or social things or whatever, because I like people to know exactly who I am because I don't want to show people a sliver of my personality in hopes that they don't like the other part of me. It's
right,
like they get the full cake. And I always tell people you can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world. You'll find people who still don't like peaches. And I'd rather show people that I'm a peach instead of trying to show them I'm like a fucking tangerine or something just
right,
because I think they might like a tangerine. Because
yeah,
I'm not in this to please people. I'm not in this to make people happy. I do hope I do in the process, but
yeah,
that's not my goal. I'm in this just to be myself and make myself happy in the process without exploiting other people.
yeah. That's the
And
most
just
important thing, to be happy with what you do.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And my community is just very diverse. Like we all come from a lot of different backgrounds, have different ideas, and I really like to cultivate a community that likes to have conversations about things and not have debates and not belittle each other and
yeah,
try and do our best to like have just healthy discussions about stuff no matter what. And occasionally we'll still get some people who are kind of dickheads, and we
yeah,
get some people who kind of need ego checks, and even people who are part of my community can still be quite toxic and or rude. But I tell my people at least once a day, like, look, guys, don't follow me and blindly like agree with everything that I say and do. Like, question me in a healthy manner. Like,
yeah,
you can be your own individual. Like, I don't want a bunch of sheep who just enjoy everything I do and just will be yes men. I don't want that.
yeah. Because today a lot of people are afraid to disagree with somebody because of their it'll hurt their brand or whatnot,
Hmm.
and it's
Oh yeah, no,
it's
for sure. I mean, people don't want to get canceled. People are really scared of that.
yeah,
But when you partake in cancel culture, you'll eventually be cannibalized by it.
yep,
That's why
absolutely,
I don't deal with that bullshit.
yep. And now when you made that, so you were streaming Tarkov and then you started to venture out and playing other games, how difficult was that?
At first it was a little weird just because I'm like, man, I'm not getting as much views, not getting as many subs, not getting as many follows or engagements in my chat. But I honestly just stopped giving a fuck after a
Yeah,
certain point. Like I told myself like it doesn't matter. Like this none of this matters. Like I should just be doing what I enjoy
yeah,
and love that. And I'm actually so glad I did because I really cultivated a much smaller core community of people who want to watch me no matter what I'm doing.
yeah,
And when I go play Tarkov, I have even more people watching me now because that core community is now like a solid base and foundation for my viewership.
yeah,
And then once I get more people who come in, and obviously previous viewers, you're still like watching my Tarkov content because again, I don't play like many other people on the platform. The only person I've ever heard my playstyle compared to is Smoke
yeah,
because we both like immersion and stuff like that. And we also both don't run notifications on our stream. Like
yeah,
when somebody donates or subs, I thank them and
yeah,
I read it, but nothing shows up on screen, nothing pops up, no text to speech, no overlays, nothing.
yeah,
And that's because I just want everybody to focus on the gameplay and the commentary, and I don't want any interruptions visually or sound on the stream besides either myself or an ad that plays on Twitch.
yeah,
And it's great. I'm so glad I did it because now I know like I can confidently go and play another game regardless of whatever it is and still maintain a great viewership as a variety streamer on this platform and be successful doing
yeah,
so. Because I found out that I didn't want to pigeonhole myself, being like a one trick pony, just
yeah,
like clean the Tarkov streamer. Like I'm okay. Like people still know me for like a lot of my Tarkov content, but I've been like breaking out of that shell, and I have been for a couple of years now, and I think I'm kind of out of that phase for the most part, and it's just it's really just awesome. It's really
Yeah.
rewarding to see the fruits of my hard work and, being able to put myself in a low point and being able to climb out of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't willing to take that dip. Like I know so many people are so scared to even go play another game for just like a couple hours,
Yeah.
let alone something outside of a sponsored stream.
And that's not going to be healthy, and that doesn't help them in the long run, because if they're maining that one game, what happens when that community dies, that game dies, and now you're, if you don't have
Eventually it
nothing.
will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
eventually it will. I mean, and that's up to them. That's
Yeah.
solely up to those people, and that's up to them to, choose when to branch out.
Yeah. Yeah, I found I think I've had Project Zomboid in my library for a while, but I'd never really dug into it until I saw you playing on a stream. It looks like it's a fun game too.
Oh, Zomboid's awesome. It's the
Yeah.
best zombie game ever.
Yeah. And then the other one I saw you play was it Mordhau, some sword swinging one?
Oh yeah, Mordhau. Yeah, I had a lot of time in that game. It was like a competitive melee slasher.
Yeah. Nice. Now, when did you move to Texas? Was that during your streaming, or
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I've been doing this for about 6 years now,
Yeah.
and I moved to Texas about 2.5 years ago, give or take.
Yeah.
And I just kind of moved here on a whim,
No
just
way.
because I just wanted to like live somewhere else, and
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people out here, so I felt comfortable like living out in this area.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, I've seen some videos with you with Brandon and Eli. How did you
Mm-hmm.
hook up with those guys?
Funny enough, remember that friend I told you about who
Yeah.
like kind of like made me scared to like quit BSG and all that?
Yeah.
It was actually that guy
Oh,
and like
shit.
a lot of others. Like he was kind of a dude who kind of brought a lot of us together.
Yeah.
It's how I got to like donut operate and a lot of those guys too.
Yeah.
And yeah, funny enough, it was that guy.
Oh,
And that's
shit.
kind of the best thing that he did for me was he introduced me to just some of my best friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I know with Tweak moved over to Texas, and had some conversations with him, and he's absolutely loving it, being over here hanging with like guys like you and Batty and Donut. It's such a cool thing to see.
Yeah, man. Tweak's a really great guy in person. He's really fun to hang out
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, and I had Slush on the pod before Christmas, and he said he had so many nice things to say about you, especially the time he came over for a gun show in Vegas at the same time an adult convention was going on, and he says you were the best host, and you made sure everybody was
Yeah.
taken care of, and it was nice to hear.
Yeah. Slush is a good guy. I enjoy hanging out with him a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people in this community, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Tarkov community is very tight knit, I think, and a lot of us have a good amount of respect for each other. I mean, we may disagree like on certain things within the gameplay, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like I think we all have way more in common that we disagree with, and
Yeah.
that we generally will cherish that.
Yeah. And now, any more range streams coming up?
I really want to, but logistically, it's not lining up because the only range that I get service at that also meets my standards of being private and having the facilities that
Yeah.
I need is a 3 hour drive round
Oh.
trip. And that's for like a 3 hour stream. And I just
Yeah.
don't want to fucking do that when I have a range, the Black
Yeah.
Rifle Coffee like ranch that I can go to that's 10 minutes from my house.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't have cell service there, which fucking sucks because it's such a nice range.
Yeah.
And I really want to get back into the gun content. It's something I really want to try and do again this year. It's just a matter of like finding a range that meets all my standards and can do everything that I want to do in order
Yeah.
to do more live streaming stuff. And I know Black Rifle is actually interested in doing more live streaming with events and stuff like that too.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yeah, because I remember seeing a tweet from you put out, talking about getting some Tarkov content creators down to shoot the guns and whatnot.
Yeah.
That would be cool to
Yeah,
see.
we had Pestily out already.
Yeah.
And he put out a video, and that was pretty fun. And then my favorite reaction from Pestily is like most of the guns he shoots, he's like, man, he's like, I'm not even really trained, and like these guns have a lot less recoil IRL compared to this game. I'm like, yeah, dude, I know. Like, and it was really cool having him out. And I think we're actually hoping to have Landmark out pretty soon
Yeah.
to come hang and shoot some machine guns and just hang with
Nice.
the boys and stuff. That should be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I usually have an open door policy with most content creators. Like if they ever want to come out, I got a guest room. We got facilities to take care of you if you want to make content. We got like streaming setups for you. Like we can
Nice.
take care of you and make sure you have a good time.
Yeah, because I saw also, I think you had Berkey down for some shooting.
Yeah. Bearkey came down for a range and we shot together and had some fun.
Now,
a
was
good
that her
time.
first time shooting, or had she shot
No,
before?
she shot guns before. I think
Yeah.
I actually gave her a handgun of mine too, because
way.
you can just do that in Texas. You can
Yep.
just like give people a gun. And I gave her a handgun because she didn't own one.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a good time.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see some of you content creators get together and in a sim complex, whether it's paintball and just see how everybody can react together or work together, just
Yeah.
to see reactions, and
That would be fun.
that would be kind of neat to see. Yeah. So now also when I pop on your streams, you're also talking about like healthy eating and whatnot as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a, that seems to be a big thing for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very into like healthy lifestyles and stuff. Like I talk about all kinds of stuff. Like there's a lot of poison out there in a
Yeah.
lot of food. Like a lot of people don't know the ingredients of the food that they're eating. Like most of the stuff in the grocery store is killing you slowly and it's causing cancer in your body and you don't
Yeah.
even really realize it because it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
And these are just things I'm kind of conscious of for myself, and I try and make my community conscious about these things because I want people to be healthy and happy, and I want them to live long, healthy, happy lives. And so I try and do my best to try and share what information I know to be
Yeah.
healthy, and try and pass that on to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a couple of things like on socials where they show the ingredients of, item A in America and then the same item in Australia,
Yeah,
and the ingredients are like half, and it's scary.
yeah, yeah. No, it's very scary. There's, like I said, there's a lot of poison in the United States, and it
Yeah.
all tastes really good. You just gotta be able to know what is and is not,
Yeah.
killing you slowly.
Yeah. Any cooking streams maybe coming up, coming down the line?
Potentially, I don't know. We'll see.
Nice. That's awesome. And then, something I wanted to ask you about. A few months ago, you posted some pictures, or you had your profile picture, and it looked like you went to some event or something. Dude, you look sharp. I can't remember. I don't know if you said anything where you were going or whatnot. Like you were in a suit, and
Uh,
it was like almost like a John Wick thing.
Oh, that was just like a photo for like a birthday post.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all that was.
you were missing holding some guns, and then that would have been just like
Yeah.
straight up John
Yeah, no,
Wick.
that was just like a birthday picture post type thing. That was
Nice.
all that was.
Awesome. So now, when you step away from your, you're not streaming or whatnot, what are you doing away from the computer?
Usually watching anime, just kind of hanging, lounging around my house, maybe doing some home workouts,
Yeah.
hanging out with friends, chilling with Brandon or Cody, Donut
Yeah.
Operator, and some of the guys at Black Rifle or something like that. But most of the time, I'm usually a homebody. Like I play some games off stream
Yeah.
and just kind of like browse around. I'm also working with developers on a couple different projects and taking some time to, do my job for them, and also volunteer for a couple mod projects that I'm helping out with. And I really
Nice.
just like really enjoy being a part of the development process for things.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy just like helping developers create.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what, is that in your path down the road? But you've already answered that question. You are working with game developers on, on games and whatnot.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's like I definitely want to work with devs more and
Yeah.
like make that a more of like an actual job and not so much just like something I do on the side.
Yeah. Now, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to that's been there for you?
I mean, Black Rifle Coffee. I mean, I've been with these guys for years. Just great people, great company.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Nice.
that's really the only one that comes to mind.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, hey, you survived the podcast, but before I let you go, you got to shout out somebody who you think should come on the pod
Who should
in
come
your
on the
circle.
pod? In my circle.
That has a good
I'm,
story,
I'm gonna shout out my friend Willers.
Okay.
Because Will is a really good friend of mine. Me and him have known each other for so long. I'm actually the guy that got him into streaming. I
No
remember peer
way.
pressuring the fuck out of him to stream Tarkov and take this opportunity to start playing it and start grinding it. And he's come such a long way. And he's just
Yeah.
such a great dude, great attitude. And he's the only Chad like type player that wants to see his own playstyle nerfed, where most players never want to see that shit changed.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he's always willing to like adapt to
Yeah.
like whatever battle state brings to the table, and he's not really one to complain. So I
Nice.
think he's got a great attitude. So I'd say Will.
All right. Will's going to come on. Well, thank you so much, Clean, for doing this. I can't
Yeah, of
thank
course,
you
man.
much, man.
That was a good conversation, dude. No problem.